Okay, Ryan, brother, Ryan Lee, how you feeling, man?
What's up, my man? What's up, Nick? I'm super excited to be here with you. Excited to be with your community, man. I'm just getting to know what you guys are up to. And I love the fact that you've got a bunch of, sounds like gym owners on here. I really think for me over the years, man, my success has been driven oftentimes by my physical, my desire and my ability to be physically put myself in difficult situations. So I love the fact that I'm talking to gym owners in here.
I love what you said. I mean, I worked out with you, so I get it. I mean, it's like at your house, it was amazing. And I know what you're saying. I love what you said, putting yourself in the tough physical situations, and that carries over into business. I was literally just thinking about that the other day.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, brother. And guys, I want to give a quick backstory to this is a funny story, and Ryan knows this is about Ryan and me, how we met. So everybody knows on this call, most of you guys, back in April, Randy Garn is also on your board. Is that correct? Ryan, is he
Yeah,
on?
Randy's on my board. Yep.
Yeah, so Randy's on his board. And Randy, this other guy, Dave Norton, and this guy Peter Skaggs, they used to work out together until Randy moved to Texas for the next 3 years. They were like workout buddies, like me and Aka and some of my friends. So anyway, so when I went to get baptized, like Randy is one of a kind, guys. Like if you ever are fortunate enough to have him in your life and work with him in any way, whenever he and Ryan, you know this, whenever he asks you to do something or go somewhere, like you never really know what you're gonna do or where you're going, but you just go. And you just like trust me, if I ever can invite you guys, I'm like, yo, we're going to Randy Garn. You have to just go because you're gonna meet incredible people. You never know what's gonna happen or what exactly is gonna happen, but it's right. It's just always an incredible experience. That's who Randy Garn is.
That's it, 100%. What's that movie with those three dudes? It's like right before they get married. They end up in Vegas, get the tattoo, Mike Tyson. You know that show?
I do. What is it, guys?
I can't remember what that movie's called, but it's kind of like that, except you don't end up in Vegas getting
Yes.
tattoos. But it's like that's what it's like with Randy. I mean, I've ended up on the other side of the country. I've ended up in private planes, and I've ended up hanging out with Nick by my pool when Randy's not even around, and this is the first time I ever met Nick face to face. It's just me and Nick after like 20 minutes. So you never know what you're gonna get, but man, if it comes out that you follow Randy, then yeah, you're gonna end up in awesome situations.
I couldn't agree with you more, bro. Like I literally fly out with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and I'm expecting to go home. I tell my wife, I'm like, babe, Nicole, Randy says I need to go to Utah from here. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I need to go this one because he wants to meet Baron Baptiste and go to this other group. So like, it was crazy, and it's like he is an incredible person. But this is funny, like you said, I am going to your house. So when me and Nicole got baptized, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, and Randy's talking about this party. And anyway, like I'm like, party for what? He's like, party for you and Nicole. I'm like, for what? And it's just like, bro, it's like this, you guys, I'm so proud of you. I love you guys. Anyway, it was Ryan's house. So I walk in, I met Ryan, and it was the funniest thing because like a half hour later, we're like that, or an hour later, we're working out in his basement. And he's like, yo, I've been getting pictures of you for like 6 months. I have no idea. Randy sent me all these pictures about this guy, Nick and his wife Nicole. I have no idea who you are. And now I finally met you. He's like, I'm wanting the whole time. Like Randy just kept sending pictures. Remember, Ryan?
Yeah, dude, Randy, he just texted me this morning, man, and he sent me
Awesome.
some random pictures this morning, so I know something's coming up in my life at some point down the road.
That's what it is. It's always like these random pictures of Randy. So yeah, guys, and then so we hung out and man, I went down his basement. I got the tour of the house, and I just right away it was just I felt like it was I knew me and Ryan joked. I was like, bro, you're like a brother. American flags. He had a gun safe. It was just like all this Chuck. It was just like I knew I was in the right home. And this guy was kind enough to have a party for me and Nicole all day, catered food. I mean, it was just incredible. And that was really when I said brotherhood, and that's what we call our group. It was because of guys like Ryan, guys like Dave Chen or Mark Chen, Randy. They're incredible brothers. So right, I just want to give you a shout out and thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Appreciated all you did for me that day and my wife. You guys, I mean, I honestly I don't know if I would do that for someone else. I can't honestly say I would. I mean, like, but I probably wouldn't because my wife, whatever. But just the fact of just you doing that when you have no idea who I am. Thank you so much.
Man, I tell you what, it's an honor. And the thing I love about what you've created here, Nick, the power of community is the most powerful investment that anyone can ever make. And it's the most underrated investment. But today in our world, we are so isolated. And especially when you think different and you operate different and you go out into the normal world, you feel crazy. But if you can come back in and realign or reconnect with people like this, people like you, Nick, man, you realize if you are crazy, that's the side you want to be on. And you realize that you're not alone. And man, those two things alone for me have helped me so much over the years to have a powerful group of connections. And you never really know where they're going to come from. So, Nick, yeah, it was an honor to have you at my house. It's an honor right now to be in front of your group, and I'm excited to bring some value to you guys today.
We love it, brother. Thank you so much again for taking the time. It's Utah time. It's only 8 a.m. your time, correct? Or is it 7
9
or
a.m. Yep, 9 a.m., dude. It's time to rock and roll, just like you, man. I'm an early riser. Have already won the morning, and now I'm on to bigger and better things.
I love it, man. All right, well, listen, let's get into this. So the first thing I wanted to ask you was really quick. We talked about how we met each other. How did you meet Randy? How did you meet Randy?
Yeah, Randy, I met him. Our circles have kind of been closely aligned over the years. But I met him actually through Peter Skaggs. About 2 or 3 years ago, I was looking to take my business to the next level. I had kind of plateaued a little bit, and I needed a little bit of coaching and mentoring outside of what I'd received in the past. And Peter had known Randy for years and years. And Peter is part of our community. We help people achieve, some pretty incredible financial results. So he does a lot of stuff inside of our community. He's like, dude, you need to meet Randy. And my first boardroom meeting with Randy was on the river. We went fly fishing together. And just like Nick, when I connected with you, I knew Randy was the guy that was going to help me get to the next level. And since that time, we've almost 3x the growth of our business since those last 3 years that I've known Randy now.
Well, that's awesome. And so like the same thing he's doing with us, with my manager, like he's on your board and he just connects you with just everyone he connects you to is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's, again, that's the power of a network and a community. So much of here's how that's really helped me. A lot of times I'm a very goal-driven individual, Nick, and I'm always pushing the limits. I'm always pushing the boundaries, but those limits that I'm pushing are the limits that I have in my head, right? And I can't see my blind spots. But when I get around people like Randy, when I get around people like you, Nick, and I see the way you live and operate, you elevate my vision of what's possible. And, outside of that, I kind of think I'm crazy sometimes. But when I get around Nick and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at what this guy's created, from the successes to the failures to the successes to the software to the brotherhood. What has he created? And when I have that vision implanted in my mind, it expands my vision of what's possible. And it gives me a sense of confidence that if Nick can do it, then I can do it. And I love that about a network is, you realize Randy is not any different than me or you. He just operates at a higher level. And if he can do it, I can do it. Right. And so that's been my biggest takeaway from having powerful networks around me is increasing my sense of self-confidence that I'm not alone and I can do extraordinary things.
Love that, brother. So I think everyone would love to hear your story, Rye. Like, like how did could you tell us how you started your business, like, and then what it is, like, kind of lead up to like where you were, and then like how you began Cash Flow Tactics, Empire Builder. Like, I'm wearing your shirt, right, guys? This is the Cash Flow Tactics. I told them to follow you guys on Instagram. But can you tell us the story of how that was even created and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, yeah, man. So just for context, my business is personal financial strategy and implementation, and it's meant to help people take control over their finances, um, reduce their taxes, build a system of cash flow, and become financially free, not in a, woo-woo way, but in a very mathematical, measurable way, in financial freedom in 10 years or less. So that's what our business does, helps people do. And it's individuals, not, corporations or anything like that. It's individual financial planning. But for me, man, Nick, we kind of went a little bit back and forth on our backstory. And I grew up in a really good home, a really, really good home. But man, the home I grew up in was black or white. It was, these are the rules and you don't cross the line. And I kind of tend to cross the line a few times. And so for me, I ended up dropping out of high school. I ended up moving out of my house. A lot of it was just being a dumb teenager. And, I kind of found myself at the very bottom of a pretty dark hole after about 4 or 5 years. And I had two choices to make. And choice number one is just sink into the abyss and let it take me. Or choice two was to work my way out of the hole that I dug myself. And for me, I grew up a hard worker. My dad's a farmer by trade. And, so I grew up, I knew how to work. I'm not afraid of working hard. And so I decided to work hard. And for me, all of that social conditioning that I grew up with, as soon as I made that choice, kicked in. And I thought, if I work hard, save hard, I'll be a productive human being. I'll have some measure of success. And so I went back to school, got my GED, ended up going to college. I didn't want to be in college. I just wanted to check the box because that's what a productive human being does, I thought. And I ended up getting my 4-year college degree in two.
Oh,
And I remember when I graduated college, I had this big vision that I was going to start making a lot of money, right? And because that's what happens apparently when you go to college. And I remember I moved from Utah. I was married now to my wife, Bethany. We moved from Utah and we moved to Arizona. And I remember I got my first paycheck, right? And it was a big monumental thing for me. I turned my life around and I got this paycheck. I'm a professional and I saved it, right? It was back in the day when you got a check in an envelope and I saved the check for the end of the day to kind of have a ceremonial, kind of symbolism that I'd accomplished something major in my life. And I remember when I opened the check, I was surprised by it. I turned it over a couple of times because I'm like, where's all the money? Right. I mean, after taxes and insurance and all the deductions came out, I was making less money as a college graduate than I was as a side hustler paying my way through college. And I remember at that moment, a little voice in the back of my head started to like chirp and it started to sound alarms. And it's like, you should just quit now. But I have a wife now. My wife is pregnant, and man, she had a super rough pregnancy. And so I'm like, dude, I gotta be strategic, right? I've got to work harder. I've got to work harder to get myself out of this problem that I'm in. And so I decided right then and there to climb the corporate ladder as fast as I could. And in the beginning, I was kind of fun, right? I started making more money. I was making $32,000 out of college. And my goal was I'm going to retire early. The more I climbed up the corporate ladder, the more I realized I didn't like the corporate world. So it was a means to an end. And I thought if I work harder, save more, I'll retire early. And over the next couple of years, as I got those promotions, it was kind of rewarding. But over time, and I didn't realize it in the moment, but I was making trade-offs, right? And those trade-offs were a bigger job, bigger promotion, bigger opportunity, more sacrifices. And over the next couple of years, I started trading my physical health and well-being. I started trading my connection with my family. I started trading my spirituality. I started trading all of these things to work harder, spend more time at the office, do all the things necessary. And I kept telling myself, this is just what I need to do. And when I have enough money, I'll buy my life back. Probably the most dangerous choice I've ever made in my life because it almost imploded on me. I found myself living in a different state than my family because we moved so much and I traveled so much. I would fly from Texas at the time where my family lived to Indianapolis. I would work 5 days and then I'd come back home on the weekend. And you can imagine what kind of husband, what kind of father I was. But I kept telling myself this is just what you got to do. And all of my accounts, my 401ks, my IRAs, all the traditional things I was doing with money, they all crested about $100,000. I had about $100,000 of net worth 5 years out of college. And somehow, some way, I thought I was winning. I didn't know what that meant, but I thought I was winning. 2008 happened, right? And all of us have a 2008 story. And for me, 2008 was a wake up call. Okay. Because thing that number one that happened is I watched my 401ks, my IRAs, all the things I'd been doing. I watched everything implode and it dropped down to about $28,000. And the first realization I had with that, Nick, is I realized I have no idea what got me to $100,000. And honestly, I have no idea why I just lost, 80% of my portfolio. I don't even know. And if I don't know and I don't control it, how can I ever even expect to retire early? And the second thing that I realized is I was modeling my life after people whose lives was falling apart. Like my boss, all my coworkers, their lives were in shambles. They were on their second, third marriage. They were overweight. They, didn't take care of themselves. I saw what they did, when we went on corporate trips together. I knew the life I was modeling my life after, and I didn't want it. And I'll never forget the day. This was a couple months after I'd lost, all of that money. My wife gave me a call, and my youngest son, when he was born, or my oldest son, when he was born with a heart defect, and I knew it. We knew it. I'm an optimist. The doctor told us he might grow out of it, and so over the next couple of years, we kind of monitored this heart situation that he was having. And my wife gave me a call, and I live up in Indianapolis. She lives back in Texas, and she says, "Ryan, Doug needs an emergency open heart surgery. I'm taking him to the hospital right now." And I'll never forget that. When that happened, I realized the trade-offs I were making, they weren't worth it. I was coming face to face with losing what I truly cared most about. And I was doing it for money. And I realized I didn't even have any control over that money. And so I came back home and I spent the next couple of weeks in the hospital with my family, with my son. And I made some major, major shifts in my priorities. Nick, you met my oldest son. He's now 18. He's taller than me. He's smarter than me. He's handsomer than me. He grew out of that heart surgery, fixed his heart. So grateful for that. But it gave me a second chance. And in that second chance, I realized I can't just let go and hope that my finances work out, but I've got to find a way to be more present and stop chasing things that I have no control over. And the first thing that I opened up was I started reading books. Like when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And the first book I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And if you haven't read that book, I would highly, highly encourage you to do it. I think most people have heard of that book. That was a perception shift. Our perceptions ultimately determine our actions. And my perception up to that moment was traditional, conventional, average, do what everyone else is doing. Robert Kiyosaki in that book said everything I was doing was wrong. Savers are losers. The rich don't work for money. Debt is money. All these things. I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? After I read that book, then I read, I think I have it right here because we're almost done with it. I read this book, Creating Wealth by Robert Allen. This book right here gave me a playbook to do exactly what Robert Kiyosaki talked about in his book. And those two books set me off on a completely different course with my money. It allowed me to build something that is passive. It allowed me to build something that accelerated my results. And it allowed me to build something that I had control over versus just putting my money in the market, crossing my fingers, hoping that all of the forces outside of my control worked in my favor and hoping for one day. And this book right here, the bottom of this book says, retire in 10 years using Allen's 7 principles of wealth. And I was dumb enough and naive enough to believe that promise. And so I put this book into action. And 4 years later, I walked away from my corporate job completely financially free. And I'll tell you what, that changed my life. I wanted to be financially free. I felt like I was, meant for something more in my life, but money was always holding me back. Once I learned really how to take control over my money, I realized that money is truly a tool to build and live a life that matters. And you can invest in a way that produces real tax advantages, real financial growth, real cash flow, and compounds without a lot of your effort and involvement. And that's really what has set me off on the course of what I do today. I'm now co-authoring the updated version of this book with the author Robert Allen. It's super exciting. It should be released in 2025. We're almost done with the book right now. So that's kind of the backstory of why I do what I do and how I got into what I do. Nick, that was a long-winded answer, but that's the backstory.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to know. And then also, guys, I think that right, he's your partner, correct? You're actually the guy that you modeled your whole career over. Doesn't he work with you or for you now at this point in his life?
Yeah, we just invited him, man. It's so cool. So Robert Allen, he is 70. He just turned 76. And the cool thing about this, right here, it says retire in 10 years using Robert Allen's 7 principles. And about 4 years ago, actually this is I met Robert Allen through Randy. So when I met Randy, I told Randy everything that we had done and the story I just told you, and he's like, oh my gosh, I know Robert Allen. I'm like, dude, that would be awesome. Let's invite Robert to our next event, and I want to stand him up on stage, and I want to give him a lifetime achievement award to say, you changed my life, and because you changed my life, we've now had the opportunity to impact all of these hundreds of people inside of this event. And so we invited him out. It was right during COVID. It was kind of scary because, you weren't supposed to have events, but in Utah, you could have an event. And so we had an event, and I just like, hey, come if you want to come. Like, I'm not taking responsibility for it. But anyway, we had 250 people that came, and we did it outside. So it was in this big amphitheater. It was really exciting. And Robert Allen stood on stage, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to kill Robert Allen, right? I hope I don't kill Robert Allen. He's my mentor. And so, but he came and he shook everyone's hand, and he was so excited. And after that, I told him, man, I'm like, hey, we've built our entire system off of what you taught in this book. And when he saw that, it reignited something inside of Bob. And I'm so grateful for this. He's like, you know what, Ryan? I have 10 years left. Now, I don't know how long he's going to live, but I have 10 years left, and I want to make a legacy impact, and I want to do it through your community. Over the last several years, Bob Allen, if you know his backstory, he was on a meteoric rise, and then some things kind of wiped him out. Major things wiped him out. And now he's more well-known overseas than he is in the United States. He actually trained Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he wants to take some of that credit and that legacy back and reestablish it to his name. So right now we're working with Robert. He's training in our community, and our goal is to reestablish his legacy over the next 10 years inside of what we do by making 10,000 people financially free with what we call the passive income machine.
That is awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that entire story. So let's talk about this. I wanted to ask you for these guys. They're 90% of the people in this audience. They own a martial arts gym or they're an entrepreneur. Like there might be a couple of staff members, but like what is like right now I'm seeing things about Kamala Harris is going to try to raise the taxes again. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, I feel like it's funny when Eric down there in the corner, Eric Lebeski, I work with him and he was asking me about like my accountant. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to recommend my accountant. Like I feel like I'm always paying way too much in taxes. I mean, it's just always paying so much. Are there a couple of tips you can give everybody now? Like just to even determine, are they paying too much? Or get so they're
100%. So here's the crazy thing about the tax code, guys, and this I can only say this in this room. I can't say this to everyone. So the fact that you guys are entrepreneurs and business owners, the majority of you, your tax rate is whatever you want it to be. Like literally, it's whatever you want it to be. And here's why I say that. Most CPAs, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, Nick, about, using the past to predict the future. Most CPAs, they operate in the past, right? How do you do your taxes right now? Well, you gather up all of your receipts at the end of the year, you hand them to your CPA, and you cross your fingers and hope that you don't get a high tax bill. Right. And when you get a high tax bill, you go back and you yell and you scream and you're like, what the heck? I thought business owners get tax deductions. Where are my tax deductions? And the CPA says, sorry, you just, you're paying taxes, right? That's not a tax strategy. That is filing your taxes according to the letter of the law. Now, I'm not going to tell you to break the law, but what I'm going to tell you is the tax code is thousands of pages long. Do you know why it's thousands of pages long? The very first statement in the tax code is everything you make is taxable. And then there's 10,000 pages after that. Why? The IRS uses the tax code as a way to incentivize behavior. And the primary way they use the tax code to incentivize behavior is with entrepreneurs and business owners. But yet entrepreneurs and business owners, they go back to W-2 wage earning CPAs to say, hey, help me as a business owner reduce my taxes. And a W-2 business owner or a W-2 CPA, all they know how to do is check the boxes. So when I say your taxes are whatever you want them to be, the tax code legitimately for a business owner has major things you can do within your taxes to reduce your taxes. So for me, every year, and this is going to be a little bit longer of an answer, but I think I'll get to the point here. There's two tax rates that you guys need to be focused on. Your active income tax rates, right? So how you're producing active income inside of your business. There is, unless you're going to get really dialed in, there is a taxable tax rate that you're going to have there. For me, my target is 20%. So I go into every single year knowing if I make $100,000 or $10 million, my target tax rate on my active income is 20%. That way there's no surprises. And that also means during the course of the year, if I notice I'm on track to pay more than 20% in taxes, I'm not doing anything nefarious. I'm just going to go use the tax code to lower my taxable income. As a business owner and entrepreneur, man, and I'll give you 5 strategies here in just a minute, but the entire tax code is written to help you reduce your taxes. So I have a target tax rate on my active income. Number 1, I don't ever to ask my CPA, how much money do I owe in taxes? I go in and I talk to my CPA and say, hey, this year I'm paying a 20% tax rate. I expect to earn, $1 million. So I'm going to pay $200,000 in taxes on my $1 million of active income. Here's the things that we need to do during the course of the year to make that possible. That's number 1. Number 2, the other tax rate that we have to focus on is our passive income tax rate, right? And this is kind of where my business comes in. Your best investment for each one of you on this call is your business. It's your ability to create value, solve problems, and exchange the value that you create for dollars. It's your ability to make money. But in order for you to have an exit strategy from your business, even if you love your business, it's imperative that you have an exit strategy. That way you show up more intentionally in your business. In order for you to have an exit strategy, you have to save a portion of what you've made, put it somewhere so it will deliver a stream of income to you in the future. That's the idea of retirement planning. So most people think that they should defer their taxes, right? If you're putting your money in an IRA or a 401k or something like that, you're just kicking your tax liability to the future, the very thing you're saving for. So there's an active income tax rate, that should be a target. And there's a passive income tax rate, that's your retirement income. My goal on my passive retirement income is 0%. I want to pay 0% in taxes. And that's honestly what this book lined up is how to do that. So that's how you should be looking at taxes, is not waiting for your CPA to tell you what your tax rate is, you telling your CPA what you want your tax rate to be. And I'll give you 5 strategies to do it right now.
Right, hold on. How many people are doing it the exact same way as me? Like you're waiting, you're just waiting for like, or who's doing it that way? Okay, that's what I figured. All right. So that's exactly what I'm doing, Ryan. I'm just
Dude,
waiting.
it's the worst.
It is the worst because then I get killed every year. And then it's like, and then I also do is, well, you made a lot of money. Like it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
congratulations. You gave half of it to the IRS.
yeah, exactly. Thank you, Ryan. So I just wanted to see in here who's doing the same thing like that. Okay.
And the hard part about that too is the CPA, and I'm not talking down to CPAs, because CPAs, they're doing a vital job. A CPA's job is to keep you out of jail. And I'm really happy about that, because I go to my CPA and I'm like, hey, my target tax rate is 20%. Here's the strategies I'm going to use to reduce my taxes. And the CPA is like, okay, cool. That works, that works, that works. This one, you're kind of pushing the envelope. Are you sure you want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, or no, let's pull that one back a little bit, right? So your CPA does perform a vital function. But here's the crazy part, guys. Your CPA does not work for you. You pay them a bill to file your taxes, but you know who your CPA works for?
IRS.
The IRS.
I
Okay,
knew it.
so I want that. I want someone who represents the IRS telling me, "Hey, you're doing everything according to the books." But don't push it here, otherwise you might have a red flag, because they're signing their name on your tax return, and so that's what a CPA is meant to do. But let me kind of give you the framework here for your business. There's a couple of things that you can and should do, and this, like, there's going to be a lot of tactical questions on this of how does this relate to me. I'm going to give you the principles. There's no possible way I can ever answer everyone's tactical questions, but the principle is, inside of your business, all you have to do is you have to tell the IRS how you want to claim your income. How you want to claim your income. Okay. Most small business owners that I notice, they claim their income just like employees claim their income. Employees have, like, there is virtually nothing for a W-2 wage earner. If you're a W-2 wage earner in here, guys, I'm really sorry. There's a lot of other things we can do for you on the investment side and kind of filter that over to the active income side. But if you're a W-2 wage earner, there's really only 4 ways you can reduce your taxes. You can have kids, right? And that reduces your taxes, but that adds a lot more fun and complexity and expense to your life. But you can have kids and take the child deduction. You can buy a home and, pay take the deduction on your mortgage interest. You can give to a charitable contributions, which I think everyone should do. And you can put money in an IRA, which is really just shifting your tax liability to the future. That's really it. So if you're W-2, like, you don't get to play the game that a business owner gets to play. If you're a business owner, then you should be playing the game. But most business owners, they play the game just like W-2 employees. They take money out of their business and they deem themselves as a sole proprietor, or they set up an LLC and they take all of their income out because this is how a CPA tells them to do it, in the form of payroll. If you're in the form of payroll, you're on a progressively higher and higher tax rate. The more money you make, the more money you pay in taxes. What you want to do first and foremost in your business is you want to break your income into 2 forms. Number one, you want to pay yourself a reasonable salary. I like to pay myself a reasonable salary for my business. And on that reasonable salary, I pay it just like a W-2 wage income earner. But I like to pay myself enough of a salary to keep the lights on, put food on the table, that kind of stuff. But the majority of the revenue, the profit that I'm going to take out of my business, I do not want to take that out as wages. I want to take that out as a profit or a dividend distribution. That caps my tax rate on that sum of money. Okay, so that one thing, I've seen that save business owners hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes by just claiming their income differently. They take a healthy salary, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to maybe 40% of your total income that you're going to claim for the year should be salary. The rest of it should be a dividend and a distribution that caps your tax rate on that sum of money. Any questions on that before I get to the next set of strategies there? Does that make sense? That should be a pretty simple one. Okay, so set yourself up as an S corp, and then be cognizant of how you're taking money out of your business. And then the next thing you need to do is, and this is where most people are like, just give me a list of deductions. There are a lot of deductions that you can take, and you should take everything possibly that you can take as a deduction. But there are 5 core strategies that will strategically lower your taxable income for the year. Number one is, every single one of you are talking to me today, it looks like, on Zoom, and you could just as easily be doing that from your home as you are from your office. Yes? So the home that you live in should be a extension of your gym, of your business, meaning the home that you live in, you should be taking massive deductions on your mortgage, on your interest, on your utilities, on your cell phone, on everything associated with your business now operating out of your home. Your home office is an extension of your business office. So that's the first thing. Guess what, guys? Even though I have an office, I'm in my home office today. This is my home office. Okay, so now my primary living expenses, a portion of those, and I like to push it to around 25% of my primary living expenses, are now business expenses, which take my total income and reduce my taxable income. That's an expense I get to put right on the top. And if I make $1 million and I have $100,000 in home-related expenses, now my taxable income is only $900,000. Okay. Number two is the Augusta rule. The Augusta rule, and I won't give you the backstory on this too much, but the Augusta rule gives you the ability to say, look, some of the things that I do that I would spend money on for business related expenses, I'm just going to do it out of my home. Right. The fact that I'm running this webinar today, imagine if I didn't do this out of my home. If let's say I wanted to be really fancy and I went and I rented a hotel room to, have a cool backdrop. I know Zoom does that for us now, but to have a cool backdrop, or let me give you a better example. Let's say I want to bring my team in. Okay. I've got team members all over the country. And if I'm going to bring my team in, I can either bring them to the office or, if I want to bring them like a team growing experience, we might take them to a resort or something like that. Right. And if I'm going to take them to a resort, what I'm ultimately going to do is I'm going to have all the expenses associated with that experience. I'm going to have to incur all of those expenses. But if I use my home to bring them to my home, this is why, Nick, when I brought you to my home, we do workshops at my home once every other month. I bring people into my home all the time. When I do filming events, if I ever produce a podcast or YouTube, I do everything from my home, because now what this gives me the ability to do is say, look, if I would have rented a studio to run this podcast, it would have cost me this much money. Because I'm using my home, I'm going to take that cost and I'm going to take it as a deduction on my active income. You can do that for 14 days. We've got a whole framework of how to do that. But for 14 days out of the year, I get to claim what I would have done elsewhere as an expense because I'm using my home to do it instead. Okay, so that's a major, major, major one. For me, every day I claim on the Augusta rule is a $5,000 deduction against my taxable income. Okay, third one is, I have kids. I'm sure a lot of people on here have kids. If you have kids, one of the best ways to recoup some of the value of these kids. I love kids. I don't know why. Whenever I talk taxes, I talk about kids as they're all expense. Kids are the best thing in the world. I love kids. But here's the thing, kids cost a lot of money, right? And so if I'm going to pay for my daughter, like my daughter loves theater, and I pay for her to do all these voice lessons and acting, and she's going to go to some theater camp next year, and all of that stuff I'm going to pay for, right? Because I foster her talents. I love investing in her talents. But on the flip side of that, I want to make a trade-off, okay? And I want to use the IRS code as a way to do it. So you can pay your kids, I think it's 14, maybe at 14,500, somewhere in that amount. It's 14 or 14.5. That might even be 15. I can't remember. This is why CPA is good. They'll give you the exact number. But every single year, you can pay your kids up to a certain dollar amount. Because it's up to that dollar amount, they don't have to claim it as income, so they're not going to pay taxes on it. I can pay that to them, and I get to take it as a deduction if my kids are employees of my business. Now, you might think to yourself, oh, I've got a 3-year-old. How's my kid going to be an employee of my business? Well, how do you guys advertise? Do you want to be a family-friendly gym? If you guys go on my Instagram, you'll see half of the stuff on my Instagram is just me showing videos of my family, right? It's just, hey, I'm a normal dude. Here's my daughter. She's 16. She drives around. I'm scared for my life, right? But now she's helping me advertise for my business. And what does that mean? I get to pay her for being on my Instagram, or I get to pay her for showing up at one of my workshops. And she's just there to show people, hey, this is Ryan, a normal guy with a normal family. I get to pay her $14,000 a year. I put that in a bank account. I take that off of my taxable income, and then I pay for all of the lessons and that kind of out of that account. It's 100% tax free. Okay, so and then the last one, I'll probably just keep this. I'll just state it. I won't actually give the strategy behind it. The last one, and this is a major, major, major one, and this is what we help a lot of people in our community do, is become a real estate professional. And don't let that intimidate you. It's actually a lot easier than you might think. And this is why when guys like Donald Trump Okay, and I'm talking to Nick. I'm talking to your group here. You mentioned Kamala Harris. I'm not going to get political, other than I'm going to get political and say, look, the IRS, they are insidious. Like what our country started on was a tax revolt. Now the IRS taxes us on top of taxes on top of taxes on top of taxes. Right? We pay taxes on our active income. We pay taxes on money that we've already been taxed on with sales tax. We pay taxes on money that we earn inside of investments. Like we're paying so many taxes, multiple layers of taxes, that it is your patriotic duty to pay no more in taxes than you absolutely have to. And a couple of years ago, when Donald Trump was debating Hillary Clinton, right back in the day when like Donald Trump shocked the world and became president, Hillary Clinton was accusing Donald Trump of not paying taxes. And if you go back and watch the debate, it's the funniest thing ever. This is when Donald would still like be very cocky and condescending, and
Lock her
she's
up.
yeah, she's like, hey, he's not paying taxes, he's not paying taxes. And if that was breaking the law, you would think the IRS would come in and arrest him. But what Donald Trump said is he leaned into the microphone and he said, that makes me smart. All that means is Donald Trump understands the tax code. And the tax code is written primarily for business owners and especially for real estate investors. So if you become an active real estate professional, and it's super easy to, well, super, it's relatively easy to do, all of the tax deductions available on real estate get to filter over to your active income. That's a major thing. And then when Donald Trump leans in and says, I pay nothing in taxes, that doesn't mean he's not paying sales tax. He's not paying, capital gains tax in some cases. But on income, he's paying nothing in taxes because he's using real estate to offset all of his active income. And for me, for years, that's how I've done the only time I claim income now is if I need it because I want to get leverage. I want to get bank loans. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. I just talked for a lot.
Guys,
Nick,
give me a hand, guys. That is this fire. Okay, like I was just putting for me. It's like you guys know I love marketing and movements and whatever. Like to me, there's nothing more. This is the only thing that might be more exciting than that. Like you know what I'm saying, Alex? Like it's not always about making more money, but saving more money is how you make more money. Being responsible and smart. And I think everyone on this call, you have a CPA. I said this to Aka. We talk all the time. I'm like, my CPA does. He works for the IRS, and most of us were doing the same thing. So, right, I listen. Me and Aka, and now this will be good for everybody to hear. I've already spoken to Aka. We do a lot of things together as my partner, and a couple other partners we have on here too, Eric and some other guys. But I want to talk about what you offer because I think that like I would love for these guys to know. So the cash flow tactics. I know you said it's for personal, but it's $7,500 one-time buy-in and then $399 a month, right? And then you teach us two things. You do our taxes for our business, right? And then you also teach us the way that to buy 10 houses. Could you like isn't that what the strategy like is it am I close to that? Could you just tell us what it is, right? I know you don't want to
yeah.
talk because Ryan's
Okay, awesome.
I know
I
you're
love
not
that,
here,
man.
but I want these guys to know because this is my community and I trust you and I want them if you could say the money, you're making the money. So tell us what you
Yeah,
got.
man. Nick, I appreciate you, my man. So yeah, dude, here's the thing. Our goal isn't to save you money in taxes. Our goal isn't to help you buy real estate. Our goal is to help you become financially free in 10 years or less.
Love it.
And if that's the goal, then everything is aligned with that end objective. And, one of the things that we build our reputation on is traditional finance, you blindly putting money in some account, hoping that one day it's going to work out. Maybe you'll end up better off than you started, but you have no control over that. And we model 100% what Robert Kiyosaki said, savers are losers. Not that they're bad people, they're losing the game of money. The game of money has changed, my friends. And most people don't know this. And most people, we've been trained, taught, and educated to just hand our money over to someone, and they're going to care more about our success than we do. That will never be the case. So, what cash flow tactics is built on, first and foremost, is increasing your financial intelligence, teaching you the game of money and ultimately the rules of the game of money. Then, with that, we build a customized game plan for you, the individual. That game plan is customized based on real principles with the end objective of financial freedom. And everyone starts in different spots. Most of our business owners, we start in the spot of, hey, if you can just make money and keep money via taxes, that's 80% of the game. Like rather than giving the IRS 20, 30, 40, $50,000, what would your financial plan look like if we just built a tax strategy, implemented that tax strategy, and that $50,000 that was already going out of your economy didn't go to the IRS, but it came back to you instead, and we then rerouted it to financial freedom. So that's really it's tax strategy first and foremost. Well, it's game plan, individualized strategy. Then it's tax strategy to lower our active income, tax strategy to eliminate taxes on our passive income, and then a way to build a system that makes you wealthy because of the economic forces. And what I say by this is very intentional when I say it this way. The last 4 or 5 years, I mean, we've also been trained, taught, and educated that inflation is just a natural occurrence in our economy. It's not true. Inflation is a result of monetary policy. But inflation, these last 4 or 5 years, how many's felt it? Like, how many of you have legitimately felt what inflation means these last couple of years? Like, it's not going back to the good old days, right? And the good old days, we were still dealing with inflation. We just thought 3% was a healthy amount of inflation. 0% of inflation is the optimal amount of inflation. But before I get on a soapbox about that, um, inflation is part of our world. And for most people, inflation is making them poor. That's why Robert Kiyosaki says savers are losers. Inflation is destroying your wealth in the future. But there are assets, there are investments that inflation actually make you wealthy. And that's really what we focus on. We just align our money with economic principles to where we get wealthy almost by default. Now, do we need to be intentional? Heck yeah. Do we need to understand what we're doing? For sure. But if you can own assets that rise with inflation, you will get wealthy simply because of the out of control spending and the reckless policies that our government is continuing to implement. I mean, they're probably passing another spending bill as we speak right now.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And if anyone would like to learn about cash flow tactics, should they just reach out? Could you put your email or something for them to reach out to you personally, please?
Yep, that'd be great. It's Ryan at cashflowtactics.com. Just reach out to me. Yeah. And because everything's done on an individualized basis, a game plan. And Nick, if you're cool with it, man, if anyone feels like this is right for them, we'll give you guys a Brotherhood discount as well. We do it's so for us, it's a $7,500 fee for us to come in. We comprehensively design your game plan. We build your tax strategy. We build your system and your machine to achieve financial freedom. So, and there's a lot of things that you guys, I'm not covering here in this. So we do everything necessary for you to have the game plan to achieve financial freedom. That's a one-time thing. And then we bring all of the investments, all of the ongoing strategy, all of the help to go from I've got a game plan to I'm financially free. We've been doing it for over 10 years. And we have massive, massive, massive amounts of case studies and success right now. But we actually will give you guys a Brotherhood discount on that. So we'll knock that from 7,500 down to 5,000 for the one-time fee.
Awesome. And that includes doing the taxes for them, correct?
That includes setting up your entire tax strategy.
Love it. Guys, let me Rise, you have 10 minutes for some Q&A for these guys?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And I'll drop my email in here. It's Ryan at Cashflow Tactics. Where's that little chat thing? There we go.
Thank you, Ryan. And I'm gonna go first, guys, and then we'll go to you guys. Sorry, I always have a question because I forgot to ask this to Ryan. So, Ryan, I'm concerned money, and I'm hearing all these things about and this is kind of good for everybody. Maybe some of you hearing this and you're not, but I'm hearing all these things of like the US dollar is bankrupt, and basically like they're having to either go to a brick system. I'm hearing that bond funds in Japan are going to just collapse, and there's going to be like this financial reset, right? Um, what should someone do with it? Like my mother too. I'm sure a lot of people understand this as well. If you have some money in a savings account, you have money in IRAs, like, do you think that anything's going to happen with that? Is there going to be like a reset? Are they trying to move us to a digital currency? Are they going to try to collapse the dollar? Is that the goal? I mean, they're no longer. So I know there's a lot of questions. We're no longer on a fiat currency because we're not backed by Saudi Arabia oil. You can tell I've done some research. Help us understand like what is going on, because some people
Yeah,
don't
man.
even have a clue.
It's man, that's a very deep question right there. And this kind of goes back to the rules. When I say most people don't understand the rules of money, those rules changed in 1971. In 1971, we used to, if you, and I don't have it right here, but I have a $20 bill back in 1970, 1970 and 1969, and before that, a $20 bill or a $1 bill or a $10 bill, it was redeemable for gold, meaning that every dollar that was in our economy was backed by a precious metal that had limited supply, which kept in check the printing of money. In 1971, President Nixon took us off the gold standard, actually for a period of time made it illegal to hold gold. And from that point on, you can see inflation go like this because we've unleashed the printing presses. And so, yes, I think our right now, if we were to just come clean on the national debt, we just passed $34 trillion in national debt. But that doesn't include unfunded liabilities like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. If every American taxpayer were to come to the table and say, hey, we're just going to wipe the national debt out, it would cost every American taxpayer around $250,000. If we were going to wipe the national debt out and cover the unfunded liabilities, it would cost every American taxpayer over $500,000. So we are beyond the point of being able to fix the system unless radical change is made. And that radical change can be one of two things. It could be a complete reset, or it could be a slowly getting back on track with fiscal discipline and budgetary spending. I don't think that's going to happen the second. I think it'll be some type of a reform. But this kind of goes back into what I was saying in the beginning. Um, it's important that we understand what an asset is. Okay, if we think about an asset, I'm just going to give you our core foundation is, inside of this book, Robert Allen said, if you buy 20 single family homes, you'll be rich for life. You'll make 6 figures of tax-free income for life. I've proven that to be true in my own life and with hundreds of people. But I want you to consider this. Take money off the table for just a minute. None of us have money anymore. We trade and we transact chickens and cows and leather and just back in the day, right? If we go to the Maslow hierarchy of needs, like what people need to achieve and progress inside of their life, at the very foundation of that pyramid, the Maslow hierarchy of needs, what do people need?
Food.
Food and shelter, right? So if
Shelter.
I own 20 single family homes and we go from the dollar to cryptocurrency, what's going to happen with my wealth if my wealth, a lot of my wealth is stored in a real assets?
It'll go
It's
up.
just gonna shift, right? It's going to go up, right? My wealth won't, it'll just shift in how I transact that. I'll transact in cryptocurrency versus dollar. Now, do I think we're going to go to cryptocurrency? I think cryptocurrency is going to be part of the system, but the real essence of cryptocurrency is the fact that we don't have government regulation. So if government steps in, it's not cryptocurrency. It's just a different form of digital transaction. So long story short, there's a lot of nefarious things going on. There's a lot of craziness going on, but there are real ways that you can protect yourself. Own real assets that rise with inflation, own real assets that no matter how we transact, whether it's a paper currency or a digital currency, are in demand constantly. Because if we reset, it's not like we're going back to the Stone Ages. If we reset, we're just going to have the federal government's going to say the dollar's dead, and now we have a new form of currency. That's all it's going to be. They're going to eliminate the national debt and future promises with a new currency. But those who own real assets will make money no matter what the currency that we transact on is.
Follow-up question would it be different if Kamala Harris wins and there's a financial reset versus Donald Trump?
That's a great question. I think if Donald Trump wins, it'll be an attempt to fix the problems. But unless there is a fundamental reform from the ground up, not the top down, this is the major problem with America right now. We're waiting for Donald Trump to save us. No politician will ever save us. America was founded on individual excellence, not political excellence. And so I really think that America, the only way America as a nation will get back on track is if we become the solution to the American problem. We have to be ungovernable. We have to be productive. We have to be physically strong. We have to stand up for what's right. We have to be people that demand change and demand leadership that reflect our American values. Until it changes from the ground up, America's on a slow rate to decline.
It's kind of what's going on in Venezuela right now. Like there are
Yeah.
people finally standing up, right? They're standing up against the tyranny, so eventually, I love that. So let's go to Brian. I'll ask too many questions about that type of stuff. Brian, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, buddy? First off, foremost, I appreciate all the information. I've actually been delving into, tax stuff for quite a while. I started my first business at 24. I'm now currently a 1 year away from 50. And this is going to be kind of off a little bit of what you were discussing, but one of the things that I've been looking at are trusts. And I don't know how much you know about trusts. But I was, looking at, I also recently have gone through a divorce. So I'm really trying to look at protecting assets. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so, my thing is, I've been looking at, putting my business in a trust, putting my home in a trust, putting vehicles in a trust, the whole entire nine. And then therefore the business essentially, is my trust. And I actually have zero income for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was kind of looking at, where do you sit with that, and what are your personal views on that?
Yeah, I think it was Rockefeller who said own nothing but control everything. And that's basically what a trust gives you the ability to do, is to transfer ownership of assets into an entity that you have the ability to influence, but not necessarily the owner of that trust. When you do that, it does separate you from the assets and you from the income. So that's probably tax planning 102, 103. It's a little bit advanced planning, but for sure, not my primary residence, but most of my assets are held by my trust, and my trust is actually owned by my wife.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, great question.
Thank you, Bri. Anyone else, guys, want to raise their hand, have a question? Cheryl?
My question goes back to the like the kids in the business, like because our son works for us and he's been working with us since he was like a minor. So I don't, should they be like W-2 or should they be paid off like the dividends of the corporation? And should they be like an official like employee, I guess? Because we just basically pay him under the table.
Yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like cash. So
So you should do that.
yeah.
Continue to pay. So the only reason you'd want to pay
Okay.
him above board is if you want to take it as a deduction on your business, you can do that, right? Decrease your income on your business. Or if you want to start to build his credits, that's the only reason you're going to pay him above board. Outside of that, you should pay him up to the amount that you can claim. $14,000 that goes directly to him. He doesn't claim it. He's not filing a tax return, as long it's still just like doing it under the table, but now you get to actually deduct that off of your business and then spend that for things that you would have normally spent that on. So if you end up paying him $30,000 and 14,000 is claimed and the other, 15,000 is under the table, more power to you.
All right. Yeah, no, I wasn't yeah, I just wasn't sure. I mean, he's like an adult now and he has like a real job, but he still comes and helps us. But all right, cool. Thank you.
Yep, great question.
Anyone else,
Oh,
guys?
and there was only like 4 things. Did I miss the 5th one? Or
The fifth one, yeah, the fifth one was I kind of went through the first one really quick as a range of deductions. So we have a whole list of deductions that you need to be entering into your business
okay.
to take expenses. So yeah, I just briefed over that one pretty quick.
Hey, Tim has his hand up. Question, Tim.
Hey, I got 2-part question. So the first one is about using your home more frequently, like you had talked about. What's the best way to track that? Should we have like a log that's tracking our hours and like, for podcasting and things like that is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So if you're going to take that, so here's the thing, you'll want to do 2 different forms of deductions in your home. You're going to want to claim a portion of all home expenses for, the 365-day year as your home office and take a deduction on that. But for the Augusta rule, you're going to want to take the highest value activities. So for me, the way I usually do it is I'll only claim if I'm doing an employee training, or if I'm doing a workshop, or if I'm doing something that I would have had to go rent a venue or have an expense. Now I'm using my home instead of that. I want to take that as high. And the way I do it is I justify. And we've got a whole Augusta checklist I can get you. If you just email me, I can give you the whole checklist of how to go through that and officially claim that. But I want to take, the biggest deduction that I can. So when I do an event here, we do workshops here, and I'll invite 30 or 40 people to come in. We'll train them live. And if I would have had to go rent a venue, set up a screen, get a vision, an AV team, rent, extra rooms, cater in all the food, it would cost about $10,000 for a day. So I just say, hey, here's the other places I got quotes from. It costs $8,000, $9,000, $12,000. I'm going to take a $10,000 deduction on the fact that I did it here. And I take 14 of those days and I take $140,000 off my earned income.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for that. And then my other part is, and I know we got a lot of martial arts school owners here. We do things like we go into the school system and we volunteer our time to teach like a seminar or workshop or guest PE teacher, and we give away sometimes these like free trials. We go to a daycare and do a free event. So how should we track something like that? Is it possible to track that as a tax deduction?
That's an interesting one. Are there any expenses associated with that? I mean, other than your time?
I mean, it could be looked at as like payroll, or we could charge a seminar fee for this. Is kind of what I was thinking. Is normally we would charge $500 to go do this event, but we're doing it for free.
Mm.
I don't know if there's a way to look at it that way.
Yeah, the only downside of that is if you are going to take a legitimate claim on that, you're going to have to issue a K-1 to the school to say, hey, I would have charged you 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 bucks. That's why I'm justifying it on my. I think there's other ways. I think that's kind of a trivial one. There's other ways that you'll get way more bang for your buck. Is there a way you could
Okay.
probably find out how to do that? Yeah, I would really focus on the major expenses, the major deductions. Those would be the ones that'll move the needle the most.
That's great. Time today.
Appreciate it, Tim. Looks like Alex, we got you. You got your hand up. You go
Yeah,
ahead.
Ryan, thanks, man. So far, this has been mind-blowing, phenomenal. Congratulations on getting to this point in your life and just being that big mentor for a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Appreciate
I have a question dealing with becoming a real estate professional. So if you had to list the top 3 things to get started, what would be ground zero? What should I get into to get that ball rolling?
Yeah, man. Number one, here's the thing I would say is don't let the tax tail wag the dog, right? So don't do something just for the tax deduction. So if you ever have to take your focus and your attention off of your best investment, which is your business, that's where I'd kind of caution you against that. But if you're going to get into the game of being a real estate professional, it's really a game of hours, right? And it's really how much time is dedicated. So the easiest way to do it is to have your spouse, if you're the one that's working full-time in the gym and your spouse isn't, get her, him or her qualified as a real estate professional. If you're filing jointly, that's the great way to do it. Or one way to reduce the hours significantly from a full-time real estate professional is to own an Airbnb asset. That takes your required hours from over 700 hours down to about 100 hours. And so when you own an Airbnb, you can treat it just like owning a mini hotel, and they allow us to take most of the advantages of being a real estate professional with that. So most of the people in our community, one of their 20 single family homes that we help them buy is what we call a lifestyle asset. Something that they're going to use for their family, to have vacations and things like that. But then they run that Airbnb through the course of the year, and that gives them enough hours logged to qualify as a real estate professional.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was awesome.
Yeah, heck yeah, Alex.
Thank you so much, Ryan. We have time for 2 more questions, guys. My wife just called me. She's like, "Don't make him. You're crazy. You've been on the phone with an hour. He's got work to do." Whatever.
No, dude, I'll talk to you guys all day long. We're talking about tax deductions, man. Like, this is the best conversation ever. Let's go.
I love it, man. I love it. And it's funny, actually, I have Get'em's on here. I was with Get'em this weekend with Andy Elliott's event, and they have a software automation or a merchant processing automation company that we're working with, and they knew you, right? So I was telling them we were talking about taxes. You came up, so Get'em. I'm not sure if you're down there, brother. You can turn your video on. What's up, brother? We're just finishing a podcast, but yeah, I think you actually talk to those guys too.
Heck
But
yeah, let's go.
what's up, Get'em? How you doing,
Hey, what's
brother?
going on, guys? How you doing?
How you doing?
Good,
So
good. Yeah.
next question is Chad. Chad, let's go to you, brother. What's Chad's my gym partner, me and Aka. We work out with Chad every day. Chad, question for Ryan.
What's up, Ryan? Pleasure to meet you.
Hey,
Quick
likewise.
question. You were talking about real estate professional. Is it true you have to contemporaneously maintain your logs and show that you're spending more than 50% of your time in that activity? And if you are doing Airbnb, short-term rentals, does that bed and breakfast 7-day rule still apply if you earn over $150,000, that it basically goes on your Schedule E and you
It
can't
does.
unlock it until disposition of the property? Does that? I went through this in 2008, 2010-ish, had a 2.5-year IRS audit, was not fun. And I was just curious, does that same tax code still apply? What, 16 years later?
So that one has been updated with the kind of the surge of Airbnb. So you don't have to claim that anymore on the 120-hour rule, but on the 50%, that's the hard part about being a real estate professional. And that's why I said with Alex's question, if it's going to deviate from your actual business, your core revenue generating activities, don't focus on being a real estate professional. Now, if you have a spouse who has the potential to do that, that's a great way to do it. And all that has to be, it has to be spent on real estate related activities. The fact that we build people's game plans and real estate is associated with that, it doesn't mean you have to be 700 hours at a property or managing a property. It just means that you have to own real estate and spend enough time, dictating and managing your portfolio to justify the real estate professional. But on the Airbnb, and I can't remember the exact number, it's either 120 or 100 hours. It goes from that 700-hour threshold down to 120. And the rules have been updated now to make it way easier for you to take those deductions, no matter your income level.
Wow. Strong. Thank you. Appreciate
Great
it.
question, Chad.
Hey, right. What's really cool is most of the people on here are launching their own Brotherhood, like which is a virtual coaching program because they're all gym owners in here. So that entire coaching we're using in their house. I mean, that right there, that's they're doing
Huge.
Zoom calls. They could do, that's
I
another.
think the biggest thing for you guys is the Augusta rule. And for anyone that emails me, I'll send you we have a template. It's super easy. But here's going to be the hard part. And this is why, if we go back to the idea, if you do not have a CPA, so you have to have a tax strategy is really what it comes down to. You've got to give your CPA the playbook that you're running. If you don't give your CPA the playbook that you're running, the CPA is going to tell you, oh, you can't do that. And all he or she means is you can't do that under your current structure. You're not structured appropriately to be able to run the Augusta rule. So as long as you're structured appropriately and your CPA has a little bit of competence and is willing to do something a little bit outside of the normal, just check the boxes, then anyone can run the Augusta rule.
I put Ryan's email in the bottom, guys, Ryan@cashflowtactics.com. All right. Message him about the Brotherhood discount. All right, guys. Normally it's $7,500. He's going to give it to you for $5,000. And he'll work. This is, guys, we're definitely going to be working with Ryan a lot. So he's, we're definitely going to, who would like to have Ryan back on the Brotherhood again? Would you guys like to have him come back again?
Let's
Thank you.
go. Appreciate that, Nick. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
And
bro.
it's an honor to serve you guys with this. I mean, I really think that it goes back to this idea, who's going to be elected. I don't know, but I don't care. I know I'm the solution. They're never I do believe Trump is a better solution for the economy right now and for America right now than Kamala for sure. But I know he's not going to fix my life, right? I got to fix my life. I have to be the solution.
I love that answer, Ryan. Thank you so much. And guys, let's please give him a round of applause, everybody, for Ryan Lee. And give him a shout out in the community, please, too, guys. Go let everyone know that they're crazy for missing these podcasts. And Ryan, guess who we've coming on? We have Randy tomorrow. You should jump on.
Heck
Your
yeah,
boy
I'd love
Randy.
to.
Randy has his missionaries coming on the call.
Dude,
They're
that's
all
awesome.
going to be there. They want to hear my story. So so I haven't met them yet. He wants me to come out to Texas. I told him, got a couple things to take care of probably September. We should try to coordinate, bro, and go out there together. You know what I mean? And
I'll go
so
there with you. Yeah, let's go hit it up.
then Baron Baptiste. Do you know Baron?
I know Baron really well. Yeah, Baron's a stud.
He's on Friday. Founder
Awesome.
of Core Power Yoga, guys. Sold the company. He'll be here on Friday, guys. I mean, these are 3 podcasts this week that we brought on. That's what the Brotherhood is, Rye. The Brotherhood is we're bringing people like you, Baron, and badasses that are to help people just destroy their business and do better and just be a better person. So thank you so much, Rye, for everything. Let's give Ryan one more round of applause, everyone, please. One more little virtual cheer for him. His email is in the chat. All right, guys. Ryan@cashflowtactics.com. I wear a shirt every day at the gym. Okay. And anything else, guys? Anyone else have any other questions? Go once, going twice. We're out. Thank you so much, guys. Ryan, I'll text you later, brother. Thank you so much.
Man, appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
Ryan.
brother.
See you guys. Great job.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.